ink went through. Sweet. Just gonna wait for some people to join in and then we'll get going. What's up, guys? Alright, already up to 12, that's pretty good. How's it going, CJ? What's up, Craig? Hi, Grandma. How's it going, James? All right. I am in Idaho. Yep. Down here in southeastern. So, what's up, Tom? Reno. That's awesome. Okay, let's get rolling. Today I'm going to be doing some trout streamer action. So, I fish the South Fork of the Snake River a lot, and the biggest food source for the large predatory brown trout is going to be mountain whitefish. So I was really looking for, I've always been into white streamers, and so I was looking for a pattern that kind of perfectly mimicked a mountain whitefish. And so I developed this pattern and call it the Whack and Whitey. But anyway, so what it does is it uses a dubbing brush as the body, so that's what we're going to do first with our Nor-vise dubbing brush table. So all this is 0.009 stainless steel wire. And then I have a short shank hook here, just to thread it through the eye, my dubbing brush table. And then what I'm going to be using for this dubbing brush is some pearl Snake River Fly Krinklezon, and then some UV gold Snake River Fly Krinklezon. And what this does is it just gives off those, those bright, iridescent, flashy colors that a mountain whitefish has. So all I'm going to do is just pull out chunk by chunk, kind of arrange the fibers, and then come down here with my scissors, and I'm going to cut it the length that I want. So I'm probably going to cut it into about 1-inch strips, and after that, once it's on the dubbing brush, if I want to trim it down, I can. So I actually don't wax the wire. This Krinklezon stuff, this flash, is a very wiry, it's super, super stiff fiber, and it does not seem to come out of the wire, so I usually don't wax the wire, and it does pretty good. So anyway, I'm just going to get enough to where I can cover up that first layer. So that should be plenty. So I cut it into like 1-inch sections. What I'm going to do is just lay it across that wire on that dubbing brush table. Spread it out pretty evenly. Need a little more. But the fish just cannot seem to stay off of this fly. Super, super fun pattern to tie and fish. Super flashy. And that's what I think is the biggest thing about this fly, is how much flash is in this fly. Looks just like a little whitefish. A little more. So once I'm done with this first layer, I'm going to start with the second layer, which is going to be the UV gold Krinklezon. And this just adds some more, more variation, more depth, more color into this dubbing brush. Once again, same length. So I'm not going to do as much gold as I am with the pearl. Gold is just to add a little bit of extra depth, a little more color. Just add some variation in there. So now that's all on there. I'm going to pull the wire back over, put it onto the post, do a few wraps just to cinch it down. Move the dubbing brush table out of the way. I'm going to start spinning it. So I'm just spinning the vise, getting that dubbing brush all nice and wound up. And periodically, when I'm spinning it, I can take a little piece of Velcro on a popsicle stick and I'm just going to brush it out. Want to get all those trapped fibers out of there. Spin it some more. And do it again. That looks pretty darn good. And then what I'm going to do is take a pair of old scissors. Just going to cut that wire off. There's a dubbing brush. Super flashy. It's got a lot of good color in it. That Krinklezon stuff from Snake Over Fly is awesome. It's absolutely phenomenal for that stuff. So take out that short shank hook. And then I'm going to put in a Gamakatsu B10S in a size 2. So I like to keep these flies fairly small, just because, it's going to entice more fish. More fish are going to be more comfortable eating it. So what I'm using is some 6/0 Semperfli nano silk. Just going to start it. Actually, what? Let me move that camera forward so you guys can see it a bit better. There we go. And this is going to stay. There we go. That looks good. Looks a lot better. And so yeah, just going to start that thread on there. Heck, I got tangled. Yeah, let me show you that dubbing again. So it's Snake Over Fly Krinklezon. These guys are out of Pocatello. Super cool guys. They make awesome products. You can get it on their website. Just get it shipped straight to your house. Some of the best little flash mix you'll ever use. So for the body of this fly, I really wanted to get a gray body. Something that was going to move well and just really look like a whitefish. So I'm going to use some Chinchilla rabbit zonker. And I'm going to do is split the hair right where I'm going to tie it in. Get it a little wet. Stay out of the way. Just do one wrap and cinch that down, and then one more. There we go. So make sure that's all nice and cinched down. I'm just going to pull that out of the way and clamp it into my material spring here. Holds it back. I'm going to grab our dubbing brush. come here, take our old scissors again, and cut off some of the wire. That way we can tie it in. Just going to tie that in right in front of our rabbit strip. And bring the thread to the eye of the hook. I'm just going to start wrapping this dubbing brush forward. Yeah, that dubbing brush table makes it super easy to make these really cool dubbing brushes. And so I've also done it with some crystal flash chenille. Now that works really well too. I just like making my own dubbing brushes because I can use all the colors and all that other stuff that I want. I can personalize it and customize it. So I'm going to bring that up here and leave a little bit of space behind the eye. Just enough for us to bring our rabbit strip forward and tie in some rubber legs. There we go. Take our old scissors again. Cut that dubbing brush off. Now, still save this half because we're going to be using that on the front hook as well. So just going to kind of get a little thread going. Cover that up a bit. And then what I like to do is get that dubbing brush tool, Velcro, and just really start to brush that out. Get it nice and buggy, and there we go. Just free all that. And then what we're gonna do is kind of pull everything down. We're gonna pull our rabbit strip over. Once that rabbit strip is over, we can split the hair again and tie off our rabbit strip. There we go. Yeah, it's super fun fly to fish, especially here in our western rivers where we do have our mountain whitefish. Super effective fly that imitates one of the main diet of these large predatory trout. Just gonna get a little thread head on it, just clean everything up a bit. And then I also have another product that we're gonna be using from Snake River Fly. It's their laser legs. This is in an oil silhouette color. So it's the silver, flashy, iridescent color. So we're gonna grab 2 of those. Tie them in on one side. I like to take these all the way to the back. So we're going to get that tied on in one side. Just work our way around the shank and do the same thing on the other. So there we go, our legs are in. Don't worry about that thread head too much, that's going to get covered by our articulation point. So we're just going to do a quick whip finish. One more. And there we go. Cut our thread. Put our thread on our post. And then we're going to trim those legs up to just the perfect length that we want them. So I trimmed the legs just right at the end of the tail. So it's going to be right at the end of the zonker strips. There we go. So there's the back half of our fly. Sweet. Let's clean it up a bit. There you go. So right now we got almost just like a little zonker for the back half of our fly. Now the front half, same size hook, same Gamakatsu B10S, size 2. Get that started. And I got some medium chartreuse eyes. Put on the bottom of this hook. We're just going to do X wraps on those. Get them nice and secure on there. Go down and around. Really cinch that thing on there. Even drop a little bit of super glue on there. Because I do not want those things to rotate. Sweet. So we got our eyes on. Now the next thing we're going to get some articulation wire. So we're just going to, I like to put it at the very tip of the hook, so right to the end of the eye. Tie it in. And so I get to our lead eyes, do a few wraps, and then I'll flip that little piece back over and tie over it again. Just to really secure that, make sure it doesn't slip out. And then on this, I'll go down the shank a little bit. It's because when we put our beads and our hooks on, I want that to be perfectly level with the shank. And for the beads, I'm just using some glass craft store beads. Putting those on there, so I'm going to use 2 of them. I'm going to use them in red. So I'm just going to thread those onto our wire. Is this pattern equally effective if it was tied on the colored vices? Yes, it is. But those colored vices are a heck of a lot cooler. Get that crafter out of there. So now we're going to put our articulation wire through the eye of the hook. So this articulation wire is actually a coated articulation wire. I'm using the Senyo's articulation wire. I believe this is the medium size of it. But there we go. So I'm just going to I cinch it in pretty tight because I don't want it to foul over and move around. But after pushing it back through the beads, we just return and tie it onto the hook. And then we're going to do the same thing. Cut it off right at the eye of the hook. And then fold it through. So fold that back and cinch it down. And so the reason I tied down the hook a ways is that way it makes a completely straight line when it's pulled taut. Because a lot of times if you don't move down the bend of the hook a little bit, you'll actually get a upward curve in your articulation. Anyway, so we're going to come back onto a straight shank, grab our rabbit strip again. Just make sure the tip's all clean. And here, what we want to do is we want to cover that articulation point and almost make it a seamless transition between the front hook and the back hook. So this will be posted on YouTube. In case you got something going on and can't watch the whole video, you will be able to go back and watch it on YouTube. It will have a full material list, everything like that. So there we go. So when that's pulled straight, you got it fairly, you can tie that a little longer. There we go, I like that a little more. So we got a pretty seamless transition from our first hook to our back hook. Just going to cinch that down and pull that back off to the side. And then I'm going to take some of our pearl Krinklezon. We used our dubbing brush earlier, pull out a little bit. Just double that over. Ends. I'm just going to use this to cover the bottom part of the articulation point. Let's flip my vise over. There we go. So now that covers the bottom part and covers up that thread head a bit. Perfect. Sweet. Now, back to the dubbing brush. Same one, just the other half that we saved. I'm going to strip a little bit of material out, that way we have a tie-in point. Just going to tie that right on in. I'm just going to wrap this with the body just like we did the first time. And then we're going to stop just before we reach the end of the eye. It's right about there. Because I still want some room to tie in my legs and tie in the rabbit fur, and then also to build a head on this fly. Take my old scissors, cut that wire off, pull everything back, and tie it in. I'm going to grab the Velcro again, just brush it out. Just make sure everything is nice and loose and free. I'm going to pull that rabbit fur forward. Yeah, I like that. Split the hair again. And cinch it. Yes, Troy, we need to go fishing. Went out this morning, threw some nymphs, absolutely killed it. Got a bunch of good fish today. Alright, so now that we got that rabbit strip tied in, come in and trim our rabbit fur. Pull everything back. Now, I'm going to get some more of these Snake River Fly laser legs. So again, this is in the oil slick color, except we're going to grab 3 of them. There we go. And once again, I'm going to take these all the way to the very back of the fly. Why legs on a whitefish streamer pattern? Because there's legs on a sex dungeon. Yeah, no, it's just adds movement, adds more color. Some people say it adds a lateral line like a whitefish has, or other fish species. I can't really confirm that, but they work. So there we go. Now we got our legs tied in. Now this is my favorite part of the fly. Craft fur. So we're essentially just doing a craft fur gonga on this fly. So I have some white extra select craft fur from Hairline. We're just gonna pull off a decent little clump of it. Now with this craft fur, you have all this underfur. So we're going to pull out that underfur and we're going to keep that. Just going to set that aside. So I actually throw this on my 6-weight blue halo rod. I use a Scientific Angler's Sonar Titan sink tip. So there we go. I'm going to add a little, I'm going to do one more clump of craft fur just to really get a good back on this fly. So you look at the profile of a whitefish, and they have a very large back and a downward pointed head. So that's what I'm going for with this streamer, was just to get a really good profile of a whitefish. This fly, a lot of the times with this white craft fur, I'll take a gray Sharpie and run over the back a few times with it, just to get the right color that I like. So I'm just gonna trim off that excess. There we go. Now it's time to build the head. So one really cool stuff about this Semperfli using their nano silk is you can split the thread. So what I'm going to do is, this is 6/0, so it's a pretty large thread. Just going to take another hook. I'm going to split that thread in half. So now I have the thread split into 2 pieces. And we're going to take that craft fur underfur that we used earlier. We're going to put it into a dubbing loop. Again, shouldn't have to wax the thread. But thank you, Ben. It's awesome. Appreciate it, dude. I'm just gonna kind of make a messy little dubbing loop. So I'm just gonna spin that bobbin. Spin it a few times. And give it some tension, and twist all that into a dubbing loop. Take that brush again, just go through, brush it out. Now when brushing this, I like to be pretty aggressive. I just like to pull all those trapped fibers out, get everything nice and neat. And you're just going to start wrapping this forward. Now I've done this fly with a deer hair head before. I just like using the craft fur because it's a lot easier, it's a lot faster. You don't quite get the same amount of bulk that you would with deer hair. So that's one downside to it. But everything else is pretty awesome with this, using this craft fur method. So you're gonna do that one more time, just because it didn't get that much on there. Just gonna let that thread spin, get it all flat again. That way I can repeat what I just did. But thank you, Rody. So we're going to split that thread again. Can. There we go. So the thread is split in 2 again. You can get the rest of the craft fur, underfur. Get those longer fibers out. Put it in between the 2 pieces of thread. And spin it into another dubbing loop. This just makes a really easy, fast, simple head on this fly. Take that brush again, brush it out, get rid of any of those trapped fibers, and then just continue. And we're going to do some X wraps around it. And then add a little bit. Alright, so there's a little piece missing, so we're just gonna tie in some right there. Right on top of the eye. And there we go. So that's our head. So I like the fact with that craft fur on top, it props up all this underfur right here, and you get that head that is perfect of the whitefish, of the mountain whitefish. It's got the perfect profile for that. There we go. Just gonna do a whip finish. How long does it take to make one from scratch? Pretty fast. I mean, I went through that in probably what, like, I don't know how long this has been going on, but not that long. And yes, I do throw it on a sink tip. Here in the West, our rivers are super deep, super fast. So you need to have a sink tip if you really want to get down there and get to those fish. So now on the bottom of this, just gonna trim this flat. There we go. Just clean it up. "31 minutes. There you go. Yeah, and then what I'll do is I'll come through and I'll clean up that Krinklezon dubbing brush body. Just keep it nice and neat. And there you go. So yeah, I throw this for trout, and then during bull trout season is when I really like throwing this fly. I'll pinch the barbs and everything on it, and that, I mean, that's all those bull trout eat is the mountain whitefish. So it's super fun fly to tie. Yeah, I'll just bring it over to your house, Troy. You can have that one. I tie enough of these. But here's another one that's very similar that I've tied to it, except I've used a crystal flash chenille for the body, and then marabou for the tail, and added a little bit of red under there just to give it some gills. But yeah, I've burned that pretty fast. But what do you say we tie some mouse flies? I think we ought to do that. What's my biggest bowl? Biggest bowl is not very big. It's probably around, heck, I don't know, 17 inches. Yeah, I just got into it this year. We ended up hooking into some bull trout when we were just doing some creek fishing on a muskie trip. So, tiger muskie, that is. But yeah, I say let's do an articulated mouse. So, went through that pretty fast, so we got some time. So same hooks, same thread. Let's move this back here. And let me get my tail material out. So for this tail material, I'm going to be using some faux leather. Just trimming that to a point. Give it a nice big tail there. It is a West Ashcraft hat. Yep. Local guy, so make some really cool stuff. Yeah, Brody, sure. Just give these to you. Thank you, Brittany. So just gonna get that tail in. And then this stuff really likes to twist and spin on the hook. So we're just gonna give it some really good super glue down on that bottom. And so that's what we're doing, James, with this mouse fly. We're not going to put any foam or anything on this front half. It's just going to be the hook and then the hook, chenille, and the tail. So, and I'm from Rigby, Brandon. So I think I talked to you at Al Sporting Goods a few days ago. My foam here. Let's also get some my chenille. Alright. So, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with what's his name? Kyle Glass, that's his name. But he ties a trap rat, which is super similar to this, except all I've done is I've articulated it and then I've layered some foam into the top part so I don't have to use the 4mm and I can just use the 2mm. So we're just going to get some of that. And so you can put this, you can put legs on it. I've just kind of personally found that to be an unnecessary step. But like, gonna be honest, I don't feel like these fish are too picky when it comes to the night. I have used bass poppers for mouse fishing, all that stuff. But so this yarn is, you can just buy it at Hobby Lobby. It's a polyester yarn, so it sheds water like crazy, and that's why I like this pattern so much. It's because it sheds the water and you can cast it all night. So I'm just going to do fairly close and tight wraps together. Just really build that body. So yeah, and like I said, the material is just a yarn I can buy at Hobby Lobby. It's a Yarn Bee. It comes in this brown and gray. So I occasionally use the gray to tie mouse and rat patterns. But I'm a big fan of this brown. And in the water, this stuff builds so much body on it. It's a fantastic material. So yep, just do wraps all the way to the front. And so the reason I'm not putting any foam on this back half is so this back half will sink down. Just like a mouse. When a mouse swims, it has that back half down in the water, but their head is out of the water. So that's kind of what we're shooting for when I tie this pattern. But it definitely became my favorite mouse pattern to fish. Mainly because it is a very easy, very fast tie, and it's brutally effective. So just gonna get it right up to the eye. There you go. So the reason I don't use the rotary function in this vise to wrap this material is because it has a tendency to get tangled up. So it's just easier just to wrap it at this moment. But for smaller chenilles and that stuff, this rotary function is absolutely fantastic. But using this longer fibered chenille stuff, it just has a tendency to get tangled and wrapped over itself on the hook shank. Yeah, so there's that back half done. So yeah, like I said, it's a super easy fly to tie. And like, I cannot even tell you how many fish I caught it on how many fish I caught on it this summer. Have you tried the Bonnie Crafts cord for mouse bodies? I haven't. Yeah, I'll definitely have to look that up, because I'm always looking for new fly tying materials. So that's our back hook. Now we're gonna get our front one. Get that in our vise. Get our bobbin out. One thing is, if you haven't tried the Nor-vise automatic bobbin, it is probably the best investment I have ever made. Just makes everything super handy. You can pull out however much thread you want, and then you can just move it right back in. So, like, this was a amazing piece of equipment. So just gonna get that yarn again. The front body. Oh, well, I should probably articulate it first. That'd be a good idea. Wherever I put my articulation wire. Here it is. So with this stuff, the way I tied it in, it's not super necessary to brush it out. You can absolutely do it, but I haven't found it to be super necessary. After fishing it a few times, and after it getting tangled up and kind of beat up, then yeah, I'll brush it out. But yeah, I've been wanting to do mice for bass. That just sounds like a fun time. Haven't had the chance yet, but I really want to try that. So with this, I'm not going to put in any beads. Just a simple articulation point, same wire that I used earlier. So once again, go down that shank a little ways, just to give it a straight body on your fly. Heck yeah, I'm down, Brandon. I would love to. Go fish some mice for some smallies. Sounds like a great time. Just gonna wrap that up to the front. Get those old scissors. Even these old scissors are dull. There we go. Forward, fold it, and wrap it back. Yeah, mousing is probably the best way to target the larger, bigger predatory fish. They really come alive at night, and it's not easy fishing, but it's fun. It's a ton of fun. Pickerel legs. That sounds awesome. That'd be a fun thing to do. Alright, says 22 more shares for a second prize pack. Yeah, so if you get 50 shares, we're going to do a weekly giveaway. It sounds like we've already hit that. So 22 more shares, and we will do 2 winners instead of just 1. And then every other 50 winners, so on and so forth. So on this front portion of the hook, we're going to be doing some foam layering on the inside. That way it just keeps our body up and floating, and not drowning down. So I'm only going to do about probably 5 wraps, and then I'm going to tie it off, pull it back, put that in my material spring. I'm just going to get some 2mm brown craft foam. So I'm not quite sure what this, I forgot the name of the fiber of the yarn, but you can get it at Hobby Lobby. It's by Yarn Bee. It's just this polyester craft yarn. But anyway, so I'm going to cut off some foam strips. And is that the same wire for the brush missed the first 5 minutes? So no, this is some Senyo's Articulation Wire. The wire that I use for the brush is a .009 stainless steel wire. So with this strip, I just like to trim it down, and then we're just going to tie that in. Kind of bend it around the shank, prop it up. There we go. Tie that in and clip it off. So I'm just going to push a few more wraps right behind there. And then wrap right in front of it. Bring my thread forward. You guys able to see all right? I've been wanting to try the Techno Bunny for some ice. I actually have a pack of it right here. I might have to do that once we end the live, because I definitely want to try that. See, I'm really just packing on those wraps just to get a nice, dense, full body. But yeah, mousing it's probably my favorite way to fish. Mousing, and then streamer fishing is a close second. So move that back again, and then do another foam strip. Gonna get another foam strip and trimmed it, bent it around, and tied it in. So like I said, all I'm doing is just layering foam, so it really keeps this front part up and floating. I'm gonna move back to my yarn, wrap it forward. So this foam also adds a little bit of bulk, just to really give it a better, body, give it some taper. And then I'll actually even come through and trim that back half. Alright, we're going to do one more wrap and then add some more foam. That back again. Get another foam strip. Like I said, I like to trim it a bit just to maintain a body and maintain a taper. So there we go. yeah, feel free to share this, and love to get as many people on here as possible. This last little bit. Like I said earlier, it should be all on YouTube by Wednesday, I believe, with a full material list, everything you would need to tie these flies. Push that back a bit. There we go. See, I'm going to wrap that pretty much just till we're right behind the eye. I'm going to tie off that yarn. Cut off the excess. And then at this point, this is when I would add some legs in. We're going to skip that for today. Alright, now for the head. So the head, we're going to get a slightly thicker strip of foam than we have used for the layering in the body. I like it to be pretty long just so I have some stuff to work with. Thank you, Keith. Appreciate it. So we're going to do essentially the same thing. So we're going to have that just right on the back of it. Just cinch it down with a few wraps. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this end, fold it back, and then tie it like that, just like you would with a gurgler pattern. So now it's like that. We're going to come in here and we're going to trim off those corners. And then cut that flat. And then I like to give it some ears. Cut that one more time. So I'm just going to cut off the corners up here as well. There we go, now it's got some little ears on it too. And then I know the guy who, made the pattern that I based this pattern off of, he likes to add some glow-in-the-dark eyes, which I can imagine would be pretty sweet. I haven't tried it yet. But that way you'd be able to see your fly in the night. Anyway, and then I'm just going to lift that up, move my thread to the eye, and do a quick whip finish. So the retrieve that I use on these is a I don't really strip it or swing it. What I kind of do is I grab it and then I just twitch the rod tip. Just super small, super fast twitches. And you know, it just pretty choppy movement, and it makes it look just like a little mouse swimming. Cut off our whip finish. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here and just trim up that body a bit. Give it a little bit of a taper. Just so it's not super thick. I want that bottom part and taper into the tail. there it is. So it's got that layered foam right in there. It helps that front part keep up, and that bottom part will sink down below the water as you strip it in. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. It's a great little pattern that's, you know, super fast to tie and super fun to fish. Like fishing a Scott Howell scopper. I'm not really sure what a Scott Howell scopper is, but I would assume so, because you know what you're talking about. But yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Don't forget to tune in next week on Sunday. We're gonna have Brian tying, so Brian Davenport, he's always whipping up something cool. So yeah, make sure to tune in and be there. So yeah, also check out the Norvise Facebook page. Check out their Instagram. They're doing the 12 days of Christmas right now, so you're definitely going to want to get in on that. And what was the tail material? So the tail material is just some faux leather. I believe I also got that at Hobby Lobby. So yes, for sure look up the 12 days of Christmas and get yourself some Norvise gear. But have a nice night, everyone.